Hello! Yes, we're back. Welcome to another episode of The Bright Light Show. We have got a jam-packed show for you today. So to begin, I hope you're feeling clever, because it's that time again when we take on the cleverest person I know in another game of Is John Wrong? Well, is he? I don't know. I'm just not sure.
Is John wrong? Is John wrong? Is John wrong? Is he wrong? Is John 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 wrong? Is he wrong? Is John 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 wrong? Is he wrong? Is John 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 wrong? Is he wrong? Is John wrong? Is John wrong? Is he wrong? Is he wrong? Is he wrong? He could be wrong.
In the Bible, a donkey speaks.
Is John wrong? Is John wrong? Is John wrong? Is he wrong?
Yes, that's true. Balaam's donkey spoke.
More from John next week. Now, you may remember in our story last week, Jesus met a Roman centurion. Well, in this week's story, Jesus meets someone else, someone very different from a Roman centurion.
Stories of the Bible. Zacchaeus. This is Zacchaeus.
Hey there!
Who was a tax collector and very rich. Tax collectors were hated because many people thought they were liars and cheaters.
Boo!
Zacchaeus lived in Jericho, and one day, Jesus was passing through Jericho.
What's going on?
Jesus is here! Woohoo!
Zacchaeus wanted to see who Jesus was.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, watch where you're going.
But he was too short to see above the crowd.
Ah, that's it.
So he ran ahead to a place where he knew Jesus would come. He climbed to a sycamore tree so he could see Jesus. When Jesus came to that place, he looked up and saw Zacchaeus in the tree.
Oh, hey there, friend. Who? Me? Yeah, you.
He said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I must stay at your house today."
Oh, all right.
Zacchaeus came down quickly. He was pleased to have Jesus in his house. All the people saw this and began to complain.
Ugh.
Look at the kind of man Jesus stays with. Zacchaeus is a sinner. But Zacchaeus said to Jesus, "I will give half my money to the poor. If I have cheated anyone, I will pay that person back 4 times more." Jesus said, "Salvation has come to this house today.
What?
This man truly belongs to the family of Abraham. The Son of Man came to find lost people and save them."
So that was the story of Jesus and Zacchaeus. And you can read all about that in Luke chapter 19. Now, have you ever wanted anything so much that you've said to the grown-ups that you live with, "Oh, please let me have it. I'll do anything. Please, I'll do anything to get it"? Well, I think that must have been a little bit like Zacchaeus and the way Zacchaeus felt when he heard that Jesus was coming into Jericho, the town where he lived, and when he saw Jesus and the crowds. Because, as we saw in the story, when he tried to get close, the crowd were pushing him away. So what did Zacchaeus do? He climbed up a tree. Now let's just stop and think about that. Zacchaeus climbed a tree. He was so determined to get to Jesus. He was so interested to hear about what Jesus had to say and who this Jesus person was that he climbed a tree. It would have been a tree like this one. Maybe there were other people up the tree as well who were interested. Maybe it was full of people. We don't know. But Zacchaeus climbed a tree. I quite like it up here, actually. It's time for us to do our quiz. I think I'll stay here now.
quiz with Paul.
Hello and welcome to another A Quiz with Paul.
A quiz with Paul.
I've got 5 questions, 5 seconds to shout out the answer, and then I'll give it to you. Okay? So here is the first question. Question 1. How many disciples did Jesus have? The answer is 12. Question 2. What was the name of the shepherd boy who became the second king of Israel? Answer, David. Question 3. After the flood, what sign did God give? The rainbow. Question 4. Who found the baby Moses in a river? It was Pharaoh's daughter. The last question, question 5. What was the name of the disciple who betrayed Jesus? Judas. So, how did you get on this week? Did you manage to get them all right or not? Well, there'll be another quiz next week. Another quiz with Paul.
A quiz with Paul.
Bye.
Now, in the story, we find out that Zacchaeus was a tax collector, and tax collectors were not popular. The crowd even called Zacchaeus a sinner. So why were tax collectors so unpopular? Why was Zacchaeus not very well thought of? Well, a tax collector's job is to take money from people. Have you ever had to give money back to some of the people that you live with? No one likes doing that, do they? No one likes having to give money back. But at least when it's the people that you live with, you know where the money's going. Part of the reason that tax collectors were so unpopular is because of who they were giving the money to. And this is where the Romans from last week come in. You see, the Romans were the people in charge, and they were bullies. They forced people to follow their rules, and they forced people to pay them lots of money so they could carry on growing their empire. So when Zacchaeus came along as a tax collector, the crowd would have known that he was collecting money to give it to the Romans. He was helping the Romans. You can see why he wasn't very popular, especially when we think about the fact he took more money than he should have done, and he kept a lot of that for himself. He obviously loved money. And he wasn't any normal tax collector. He was a chief tax collector, which meant he was like a boss, which means he would have been well known, which means he had a big reputation, which is why the crowd are so mean to him and so quick to push him away. But then along comes Jesus and talks to Zach and doesn't tell him off and doesn't give him a good talking to, but instead says, I want to spend the day with you. I want to have a meal with you. Now that may not sound like such a big deal to you and me, but sharing a meal with someone in Jesus' time was a big deal. Much bigger than today. It was a way of showing people that you accepted them. You wouldn't do it with just anybody. It was a bit of a statement. A bit like when it's your birthday party and you're only allowed to invite your best friends. It was that important. And so there's Jesus having a meal with a man like Zacchaeus. What was going on? So what is this story all about? Why did somebody take the time to write down the story of Jesus and Zacchaeus? What's it all about? What does the story mean? Well, it means lots of things. Here are 3 things it can mean. Number 1, just like last week's story, it can remind us that everyone is loved by God. Roman centurions, they're loved by God. Tax collectors are they're loved by God. And people who make mistakes and sometimes make bad decisions, they're loved by God. Secondly, just like with the Roman centurion last week, Jesus doesn't see Zach, the tax collector. He just sees Zach. And there's an important difference there, because I think it can be easy to think that God sees all the things that we've done wrong, all the bad decisions we've made, all the different ways we've hurt people. But God sees us. He sees who we can be. He sees who we're able to be. And that means, number 3, God is able to help us to transform to be the best me that I can be. And that's what we see with Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus comes down the tree and he decides to give away half of all of his stuff and to give back all that he's stolen. He starts to think about what parts of his life need to change, what parts of his life need to transform. And he starts to think about other people. That is transformation. It's time for us to have another song. So again, just like last week, think about the words, think about what they mean. Get involved, sing as loud as you can, dance if you want to, and enjoy. Let's sing.
My life, a picture here of you, help me to be true, a little bit of heaven in my life. May I be a bright star shining, helping people finding their way to you. Today, just so wanna praise you, yeah, yeah, yeah. I just so wanna praise you.
last thing. So why did Zacchaeus change his mind? Well, maybe it was because Jesus showed him love, even though Zacchaeus probably wasn't a very nice person. Or put differently, maybe it was just because Jesus was kind to him. That simple. Love and kindness are very powerful. It was the love that Jesus had for the centurion, even though he was a Roman, and it was the love that Jesus had for Zacchaeus, even though he was a tax collector, that can be so transformative, that can be so powerful. To help us think more about this story and what we can take from it, Joe is going to do a craft with us.
Craft time.
Morning, Bright Lights. We're going to do a craft to help us remember the Zacchaeus story. So some of the things you're going to need this morning are some glue, some paint, some green paint, some tape, some green tissue paper or paper, some string or wool, some scissors, some colouring, pens and pencils, a sharp pencil and some glue tack or Play-Doh or plasticine or something soft to help us make a hole. So what we're going to do first, and we're going to need some white card. So if you haven't got white card, you could cut up a cereal box like this, and some brown card. Again, I've used a cereal box, or you could use any cardboard box. So what we're going to do is make the tree that Zacchaeus sat in. So we're going to put our arm on our card, and we're going to make our hands into the tree and branches, and we're going to draw around your fingers like this and around your arm to make the trunk, and then we're going to cut that out. Okay, so here's one I made earlier, always wanted to say that, and I've drawn some lines on it to make it look a bit like wood. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stick that onto our card. Now if you can't find any brown card, don't worry, because what you can do is just put your hands straight on this white card and colour it in brown to make it look like the tree. So you're going to put some glue on the back of your cut-out handprint, stick it onto your paper like that to make the tree trunk and branches, and then we're going to make some leaves. So I like getting messy, so I'm going to do some finger painting with some green paint to make the leaves. If you haven't got any green paint, don't worry, because you can use some paper. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Let's put lots of leaves on. There we go, it's just a few. So something else you can do if you haven't got green paint, or you can do it as well, is to scrunch up bits of tissue and make some scrunched tissue leaves like that, or you can just cut out some leaf shapes and colour them green, or use green paper and stick those on with some glue. Now I'm only going to do a few because otherwise we'll be here all morning. There we go. So we've got some leaves on our tree. So now we need the important people. We need Zacchaeus and we need Jesus. So you need to draw yourself a Zacchaeus on a piece of paper. I've cheated because I'm not very good at drawing, so I've printed this one off the computer. So you can colour your Zacchaeus in nicely, and when you've got the Zacchaeus and cutting out, what you need to do is get a piece of string and tape the string to the back of Zacchaeus, like this. You can just use sellotape. I've got brown tape so it shows up a bit so you see. So we've got Zacchaeus on the string. So we need to put Zacchaeus in the tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a hole next to our tree, kind of about here. Now this is something that you test where the cake's cooked, but you can use a sharp pencil, and what you do is you put your plasticine or Play-Doh underneath and you press it through to make a hole, and then you push the string through the hole. Easier said than done. You might need some help with this bit. I think I probably need some help with this bit. There we go. Strings through the hole. And now you need to just measure. There's Zacchaeus sitting in the tree. I just want you to pull him down the tree to the bottom. And whenever he gets to the bottom, turn over, and that's where we're just going to tie a knot in the back. So Zacchaeus can climb up and down the tree like that. Okay, so we're missing Jesus, aren't we? So I want you to draw a picture of Jesus or print it out and colour it, and then we can stick Jesus at the bottom of the tree, looking up and telling Zacchaeus to come down. So here's one I did earlier. You can see we've got lots of leaves on the tree, and Zacchaeus goes up and down the tree. And I've put up here, Zacchaeus climbed the tree to see Jesus, and where it comes from in the Bible, which is in Luke. But you could put anything. You could do anything to remind you of the story of Zacchaeus. You could put up here that Jesus was kind to Zacchaeus because nobody else liked him, but Jesus didn't matter. Jesus still loved him, whatever Zacchaeus done, whatever other people thought of him. So whatever you want to write to remind you about the story of Zacchaeus. That's it. See you soon. Bye.
Takeaway. Number 1. God loves you just because you're you, and you're great. Number 2. Is there anyone at your school, or in your family, or any of your friends, or the people that you socialise with, that you could just be kind to, just like Jesus was to Zacchaeus? Number 3. Are there things in your life that you want to change, that you want to transform, that you want to do differently? What could you do to make that happen? And there it is. That's our takeaway for this week. Okay, amazing. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of The Bright Light Show. Don't forget to rewind, scroll through, and see if you can work out what the special message is for this week. Have a lovely week, and we will see you again next week for another episode of The Bright Light Show. Bye.